What's going on, Palace fans? Welcome to another edition of the Palace News Show. Hey, sorry for a little bit of a late start. Has technical difficulties, but we got it figured out. I'm your host for today, your man T, and I'm joined by AJ. AJ, what's going on, man? Can you hear me?
Not much, man. Not much. Business as usual, man. I can hear you loud and clear.
All right, business as usual, my man. So, hey, before we get going today, everybody, I want to say first and foremost, thank you to you all for being here. Second thing, make sure you like, subscribe, share. Appreciate it. We're on our way to, I believe, 2,000 subscribers. So make sure you all tap in with us. We appreciate it. At Back of the Nest on social media as well. We got a few things to cover today that are related to Palace, whether it be news, rumors, updates, things of that nature. Um, but first, just getting going on things, AJ, just give me your opinion on how things have kicked off so far, just at the early parts of the off season for the club.
It's been good, man. Things looking promising. I think it's a sign of the times. It's a great time to be a Palace fan, man. The club looks a bit efficient. We seem to be getting early targets through the door very early. I would almost go on record to say the only headache on there is really the text politics. Obviously, that's there. That always seems to rear its ugly head every few months, to be fair. So I'm kind of used to it. Until he sells, nothing's going to happen, and he can't go and buy another football club. I don't know if he wants to get into bed with seven partners. I mean, I personally would think that'd be quite risky. I'd be actually kind of worried if I was an Everton fan on that side of things. He wants the multi-club model. It's not going to work. It just doesn't suit our mentality. You know, the links don't seem to match up. But that being said, I think in terms of signings on the pitch, in terms of positivity around the club, Euro's coming up. Yep. I think we're in a good place. I feel happy. I'm relatively happy with what we've got.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been fun so far with having the early news from the squad. I mean, in the Texter thing, it's kind of like you said when we started, business as usual until something changes. You know what I mean? A lot of things have to fall into place and happen before he can ever really take and make that move. So, you know, I guess we just keep things as is until, you know, something happens. Kind of like my man Patrick says, it's all speculation. I'm gonna talk when something happens. But don't want to forget, guys, if you have questions, we'll be answering those throughout the show, especially at the end. But don't forget, put the Q and then the colon so that we can know immediately that it is a question.
Very Patrick, very Patrick.
Yeah, absolutely. But we're going to go with the first piece of news that you probably saw on the splash screen before we started. But it's been reported by Bobby Manzi that Odsonne Édouard has been told that he's allowed to leave Crystal Palace this summer. His potential departure, however, will not affect any of the plans for incoming signings. So for me, instantly, that means that, you know, we were going to get a striker anyway, no matter what. So it's like, hey, we can look to move Edouard because we're going to look to bring in somebody else anyway to replace him. But tell me what that means to you, AJ, or how you see that.
Edouard's been a very frustrating character for me, to be fair. I think
for a lot of people,
I'll be honest, I was on the Edouard train about 18 months ago, maybe 2 seasons, you know, maybe two seasons ago. I think the thing for me was with Edouard is I thought he was just never really given a chance. We could always tell there was a bit of quality there, and I always thought he was very efficient in front of goal. But I think as time's gone on, and you've taken off the rose-tinted glasses, I'm not seeing it. As far as I'm concerned, I go to games, I see him on TV. He's got a lazy mentality. That's not me saying he's a lazy player. In fact, no, actually, I'm going to say it with chest. I think he's a bit of a lazy player. With him, it has to be ball to feet every time. He's capable of doing quality and creating his own chances, and he's got a little bit of skill on him. But I think with him is he gives me lazy mentality. And I just don't think that's what the manager wants. And I just don't think that's the direction we're going in. We can't afford to have people just sort of riding on the coattails of the rest of the team doing the work, and then you just sort of sit there and turn up when you can be bothered. And I believe that is probably going to be his downfall in the long term. I'd rather cut ties. I think we should definitely get out the mentality of holding on to players until it's too late, they're too old, or, you know, they run out of contract and they walk out the door on a free. If you are in a situation where you can get a bit of money back for Edouard and he's just not suiting the system, then do it, sell him. I think he's done and had really good moments. I think he scored some very important goals for us, and I will appreciate him for that. But I gotta go my head and heart on this one, and I just don't think, ironically, his heart is in it.
Yeah, and I think I lean towards what you said. You know, he still has value. I think he still has a pretty decent amount of value, like almost enough for us to hopefully recoup the money that we put out for him in the first place. And the reason why I say that is just because he may not be able to have the output as far as goals and production in the Premier League, but he has quality. It's there. I think that's the thing that you could see. I don't think you just say Edouard's no good, he can't play anywhere, he can't be successful anywhere. I think if he goes to other leagues, he could have a pretty high level of success. So, like you said, I think you go ahead and move him now while he has a decent amount of value, because it's not like he played bad when he was in there. You know what I mean? He was up to, like, I want to say 5 or 6 goals before he got injured. I want to say. So he had some scoring production for us prior to the injury, him going out and then Mateta hitting his stride. But and I think teams will notice that too. So I think it'll be good for him to find that opportunity elsewhere, and us to get back a good amount of value for him for sure. So moving on to the next topic. It was reported by Lazio Space that Crystal Palace have offered a contract until 2029 and about $5 million salary plus bonus for Daichi Kamada. And apparently Lazio cannot match the offer. Contract negotiations in these hours between the directors of the English club and the Japanese representatives have been taking place. So for those of you that don't know, Daichi Kamada is a former Eintracht Frankfurt player and was a part of the Frankfurt setup when Oliver Glasner was there. He actually won the Europa League with Glasner at the same time. So this is a player that has a high amount of familiarity with Glasner. AJ, what's your thoughts on what you're hearing from that report in particular, or what are your thoughts on Daichi Kamada?
I'm not going to pretend I know this player in and out. I don't watch him week in, week out. I've seen his figure. I've seen his stats. Oh, and you know what it is? I've never really been a fan of stats, because I don't think stats always show a true reflection of a player's quality on the team. He's not got an amazing output considering the positions he plays on the pitch. But that being said, if the manager wants him, then there's obviously got to be something in it. It's not a ridiculous sum of money that he'll be demanding, because obviously if you calculate it after tax, what's he going to be looking at? What, 80 to 100 grand a week? What's the average take home for a Premier League footballer nowadays? You know, it's not a billion miles off that anyway.
And the fact that we're not paying anything,
it looks like we're going to get him on a free for him. If we do manage to get him over the line, then obviously it just adds. Yeah, I agree. I think you also got to take into consideration is he's going to add depth to our midfield that I think we are truly craving. As much as we've got an excellent centre midfield in pairing and an excellent defensive midfield in options, we have to start looking at the wingers, and we have to look at the equation of what happens when Eze is not available. And I've looked into what the players' positions are and where he's more productive around the pitch, and it looks like that's very similar to that. I do know he can also potentially do wing play as well. I know that's not particularly his first position on the pitch, but he is competent in doing that. So for me, I like the idea, and I think I'm going to go once. I'm probably going to say this a lot over the summer, but if the manager wants him and the manager trusts him, I'm all for it. I don't think it means that all of a sudden Eze's going. I'm not getting sucked into that idea. I don't really have a concern about Eze and Olise, saying those are the two that I think actually will probably stay under Glasner, at least for now. But then also at the same time, it's a new player through the door. It's exciting. It's the fact that we are getting it done early, which is not Crystal Palace fashion. Most of my sort of people around me have always sort of said to me, funny enough, to say, don't you lot normally do your business come last minute? That's why you're always sitting up watching deadline day or Sky Sports or something, like hoping that we're going to get something or some player over the line and then we come short. But this time around, we're getting things done early. So it just goes to show a statement of intent, not just from the owners, but also from the manager. Because a manager like that, you're going to have to back him, and you're going to have to back him early and show him. You're going to have to match his ambition. And I think even with the players, it just kind of shows what my position is not comfortable anymore. Or more importantly, you know what? This football club is going places. We've now got a depth. We've now got a good squad. And I think one of the things that I think a lot of Palace fans can agree with, home, away, or wherever you're watching from abroad or wherever in the world, is when you see that lineup on a Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, next season, Wednesdays and Thursdays possibly, you will probably find yourself in a position often where you're saying, well, what's going on with the bench? Our bench is so weak. Who's this player? Who's that player? Yep. So I think there's an excellent opportunity there, man. And let's get him, man. Let's get him signed. Let's see what we can do. If there's interest in other clubs in Europe as well, that also plays a part in terms of who this player is and what they can do.
Yeah, I fully agree. I mean, you make a great point about the fact that, when you get later on into the season, into the Februarys, the March, the Aprils, your depth is going to play a huge, huge role when you're balancing cup matches and Premier League matches in our situation. So that squad depth piece and really addressing that early is fantastic, because then we're not wasting so much time holding our hope on getting these big name guys throughout the window, only for us to be led to the end of the window on deadline day, praying that we can at least make one move, maybe two moves, because we've been focused on these bigger deals the entirety of the window. I think, we have a good squad right now, especially talking starting 11 quality guys. Now, the thing that we really, really need is to make sure that we're quote unquote building from the back and making sure that the depth behind those guys is set and ready to go. So I fully agree with that, and I think having that focus means that we're building for the better things to come.
100% agreed.
One of the things I did see was the fact that somebody said that if here it is, Mukhtar actually said that if Kamada comes, the Eze goes. I don't believe so. I don't think that's the case. I think the Kamada piece is building on our squad quality overall, especially because of the fact that he is a free transfer. So he's an affordable move for the team. We're not shelling out a huge transfer fee for him, and he has a high level of familiarity with the manager, which goes a long way as far as being able to correctly implement what he wants to do in the team. Hot take here from Tim. He says, if we get players in,
I agree.
Early,
I think he.
Oh no, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. The only thing I was going to say on that point is, and somebody might have potentially mentioned or clocked onto that, very similar to, if you noticed our summer last season, there was definitely a bit of early shift in momentum, and then we went quiet. So we managed to bring in Lerma early, and then we knew France was through the door. Obviously, France was injured, so that was a little bit different. And there was a lot more excitement around the team. And look how Lerma played out in terms of how he integrated in the team, and he was efficient in all sorts of different areas in the pitch. I think like with this new player through the door, you are opening that great opportunity and that golden opportunity. And I think with from what I've seen, what the coaching team have managed to get out of the squad just in a short space of time without that preseason behind them, I think with an excellent preseason and getting those players through the door early, not only did that give the manager a brilliant selection headache to worry about, that also gives us a chance, the best chance possible.
Yep, absolutely. I think
and the other additional factor that we have to iron in is the Euros. Because once the Euros is done, some of those players are going on holiday. Some of those players are not going to be ready at the beginning of the season. So if we've actually got the depth there to actually be challenging for games,
breaking up a bit, AJ. I lost you there. I think you might have froze up. But I think what he was saying is it's important for us to have that squad depth because those guys that are playing at the Euros are going to come back later into training camp and even possibly the beginning of the season, just because of the fact that it's going to take time for them to reacclimate with conditioning and things because they'll have longer holidays. But let me I saw a hot take here from Tim I wanted to address really quickly. Tim said, if we get players in early, I think it creates some pricing power in our negotiations. Hold out for better if we want to sell, hold out for better prices if we want to buy. That's a great point, Tim. And I think what it also allows us to do then is not be desperate in any situations because we won't be desperate to move players. We won't be desperate to try to get prices on guys that we want to bring in because we have good squad depth. We have really good players in the team already. So, AJ, I'm sorry you got cut out there, brother, but I believe you were saying the fact that it's important for us to have that balance in the squad because of the fact that you have guys coming in later from competitions like the Euros. So it'll be good to have quality guys that are able to step in and play.
I 100% agree. I think Tim's got it's a half and half concept. I think the situation is you're going to want a player from both sides. You want both. So you want players in early as soon as possible. We're the fans, so we're not going to realistically worry about the numbers, but realistically there is going to be a budget there and we have to make sure we atone to that budget. So you do have to sort of play a little bit of the game, and which we've done over the years. Hopefully this time around it's our turn to get things done early and efficiently.
Absolutely. I think it's definitely a balance between the two for sure. So we're going to move on to the last piece of news before we get into answering your questions and things, everybody. So it was just reported that Aston Villa and Crystal Palace have joined a list of clubs keeping tabs on new English youngster Archie Brown, and it comes from Adrian Kajumba. So Archie Brown, for those of you that may not know, Archie Brown is a left back, 23 years old, 6'3", who currently plays for Gent in Belgium in Jupiler Pro League. He actually just got there this past fall, so he just had finished his first season with them. Prior to that, he was playing for Lausanne in the Swiss league. It originally came up in England, playing in, I believe, Derby's academy. So he hasn't come up in the traditional way that other English players have had. He's definitely on that new way of guys that go straight from academy ball to playing first team ball in another country, which is I feel like a dynamic we're seeing a lot more with certain young English players. But he seems like he's a quality player playing on that left-hand side, whether it be left midfield, left wing back, or left back. AJ, have you gotten to really dig into Archie Brown at all to this point?
Well, ironically, this one I actually did do the proper research on, and he seems like a little bit more of a easier play to find in the world. Respectfully, like you said, he came through Derby's academy. Apparently, was highly sought of after. Apparently, when they were going through their financial struggles, that was the reason why he allegedly ended up in that part of Europe as well, rather than sort of maybe jumping onto another academy. He went obviously almost like a Scandinavian route sort of thing. So I mean, to end up in a club like Genk and start and play week in, week out, and actually be pretty productive at a team like that. Naturally, the Belgium A League in comparison to the Premier League, those are two different contrasting things.
Yes.
But he's not really got any youth caps. He hasn't really accomplished anything in that side of things. But he, like you said, he's gone down a very unorthodox route via Europe. And he's obviously got something about him. And Genk is not a crappy club. They play European football. They are efficient. They compete for titles. Yeah. And if there's a chance for us to just get a little, that would almost be the ideal depth that we need for somebody like Tyreek Mitchell. Nobody that's just going to knock him off his perch instantly, but something to give him somebody there that will make him have to sit there and think, you know what? Excuse me. If this guy gets his chance and he blows up and I don't step up, or you know what, I might not be resting and taking care of my body in the right ways, there's obviously going to be an opportunity there to sort of make things happen there. And he looks like a player that could at least once or two, maybe more than once or twice, but at least a few occasions, we can give him Premier League football and know that he's going to be competent. Can he make that transitional step up? Because from my understanding, when he left Derby, they were on the cusp of getting relegated from the Championship. So to make that transition, but then at the same time go into a big European league and go into a very big European, a relatively quite a big European football club, and he's played a lot there. He's done some good things. He scores goals. He creates goals. Apparently, he's really loved over there as well. And I'll even be cheeky enough to say, listen, if Munoz can do that on that wing, what can this guy do on the other? So, there's if he's even a quarter or half of the player that Munoz is, I'm all for it, man. I'll take him. I think it's a bit weird that he's not really been in the youth setup on any level, because at least you can get League One players that have played for our under 17s or under 19s and stuff like that. That I find a bit weird, not concerning, but a bit weird. But actually, I kind of like the idea. It looks like, I think the most important thing I've noticed about a lot of these targets is that they seem to be identified in the key areas in the team which require the most, I guess, surgery or the most addressing. Yeah. But at the same time, I do want to kind of follow Patrick's vibe of not getting sucked into speculation too much. Yeah. Because we do know it's going to be silly season. Everyone's bored before the Euros start, so obviously it's going to be speculation galore. And then also we also have to really remember the transfer rumors are going to dry out a little bit over Euros, because big players ain't moving anymore. So they're either going to do it before they go, like, Mbappe's and players like that, or they're going to go and showcase themselves at the World Cup and then obviously come back after that as well. And also there is also what we call, it's not really a big term, but it's almost like a big tournament tax. So you're going to get one or two players, maybe look at Amrabat, for example, at Man United, where they've gone to a tournament. I don't know, they marked Mbappe for one game. All of a sudden, they're worth £50 million and everybody wants them. Exactly. But it actually turns out they're useless or whatless in comparison. So we also have to be kind of wary of that danger as well. But actually, at the same time, contradicting my original point, that might be also another reason, just to sort of challenge to what Tim was saying, that also might be an ideal reason why to get some of these players done now. Exactly. That might be why we're getting a Chadi Riyad done, because of the fact that Chadi Riyad right now is extremely affordable, but he's a Moroccan international. He's going to play. If he goes out in the international break and really balls out from Morocco, that number goes up. Exactly. Obviously, granted, with those players outside of Europe, I get it. Like, there are still odd little international tournaments going on in and out, and like you said, there will be other internationals going on as well as the Euros. Plus, obviously, the teams are going to be prepping for the Euros as well. It's just positive stuff. It's very rare this time of the year that I've ever gone on to see such much positivity and see us be linked with so many players so early. I'm not used to it. I'm genuinely not used to it.
Yep.
It's so strange, but actually quite refreshing. It's nice, but I almost find it weird because it almost feels like no other club in the Premier League's even blinked yet, and we're just bang straight out the door. We already got here we go for the new centre back. You know, you got also look at the chance that we might be signing a very exciting Asian player there as well, and then getting linked with another left back that it's all going in the right place, mate. It's all looking Millhouse right.
Yeah, I think it's similar to what Colin brought up. I think a lot of it is just really forward thinking and planning. I think a lot of it could be in preparation for some of these 1-year contract guys going out the door, the Hugheses, the Schlups going out the door, and rather than us having to sweat whether or not we're going to bring them back on another 1-year deal again and again and again, it's like, no, we can let them go because we have ready-made replacements already in place in the club. You know what I mean? I think that's why you see maybe a link with a guy like a Batista Mendy, where people are like, well, why would we go out and get him? We already have guys here, guys there. Why would we do that? You know what I mean? Or Gabriel Sara. It's like, why would we go and get him? We got guys here, guys there. Why would we do that? Well, maybe it's just because of the fact that we want to not only build our squad depth overall, but we already want to have ready-made replacements in certain positions by the time somebody is ready to leave. So we're going to turn it over and start answering a few of these questions really quickly. We're going to peel through these. Ryan Wilson started out like, I think he's saying, who are our striker targets? The one that I've seen earlier on was the young kid from Basel, Thierno Berry. I think he's like 20, 21 years old, 6'5". Like looked like he's pretty decent player. But were there any others that came to your mind?
There's none that I've seen no rumors for strikers yet. But you know what football's like; it could be out of nowhere. I would take Adebayo at Luton. I think he is so underrated.
Yeah,
I think not only do I feel like he would suit the style, I feel like he'd fit right into the team. He's a hard worker. He's a workhorse. He's a problem. He's all over you for 90 minutes. Listen, even if you're beating Luton 6-6, he's getting a hat trick out of it. That's the kind of striker he is. He is just constantly a problem. He's fast. He's quick. He's powerful, and I think he's got a bright future. I reckon that's the kind of striker we could get on a bargain. Don't quote me on the exact figure, but if you're telling me 15-ish million pounds for a player like that, that's the kind of striker I would like, because I feel like with the way things are, Mateta's stock's too high. So unless we're going to get an astronomical money figure for Mateta, and we can get him out the door for a ridiculous fee just while he's on a hot streak, that's one thing. But if it turns out a case of Mateta is going to continue the momentum and Glasner says, you know what, you're my guy, I feel like Adebayo would be an excellent option. Plus, Luton's just gone down. I think there's an opportunity there.
Yeah, and I think the reason why that also makes sense, like you said, Luton's just going down. So throwing out a figure like what you just said may be attractive to them, because that's going to help them with, making that transition back into the championship and needing money. I think whoever we go after at striker, I think there needs to be a level of understanding with amount of starting 11 chances throughout the season. I think that's a big piece, because with the way that Mateta has hit form, I would expect moving forward that's like, hey, you're the guy. He's the guy until he's not, type of thing. So I guess with negotiating with any striker that's going to be coming in, it's kind of like, hey, you're going to get appearances, you're going to get opportunities, but he's the guy. Now you can compete.
But if you got to grasp him, that's how football works. You got to grasp him. I've played football at junior level. Like, as soon as I'm messing about or getting injured or not putting in the work in training, there's always one or two players that are just happy to take your place. And then if you can't do what you need to do to succeed and get yourself back in that position, tough. That's just the world, the way the world works. That's like every walk of life. If you're at a job and there are 10 guys that do the same job as you, or let me be more specific, 10 people that do the same job as you, and 3 of you going for promotion, they're not going to promote the guy that's just not on job. They're going to go promote the guy that is ticking all the boxes. That's just how it works.
Facts. That's how it works. Exactly. So, and then I think the only other striker I heard people bringing up maybe was Kelechi Iheanacho from Leicester because he's going to be free. But once again, like I don't see that one as much because he's getting closer to 30, so he's probably wanting to be in a position where he can compete and play, first team, starting 11 football. So I don't know if that one fits as much as
All
an
right.
Adebayo or a young guy like a Barry.
This is the thing I want to do, yeah. As a collective, massive Palace community, one of my pet hates and one of the things we need to stop doing is being linked with the same player for 5 years.
Over and over and over. Yeah.
Star.
Yeah.
Who was the other one? There was Saw, Iheanacho. There's gonna be a few names I hear in the summer.
What's the one guy's name? Gosh, last African guy, last name starts with an N.
Ndidi?
No, not Ndidi. Oh man, what is the dude?
There's Nketiah as well.
He was
Nketiah as well. Nketiah at Arsenal. As a collective, as Palace fans, please, me personally, I am begging you, can we just leave this in 2024? Getting linked with a player from that who was hot in 2015 because they couldn't get into a certain team. I can't, man. That is one of my biggest bugbears when it comes to transfer speculation is just getting the same names. Well, that player falls out of favour. Crystal Palace will have him. Always linked with. And have you noticed now, we're always in that same Crystal Palace, Newcastle, West Ham, and there's always us 4 or 5 clubs in the middle of the pack that's like, yes, link with that player. And then every summer, do you know how long Milan Sarr has been the Zaha replacement?
Yes.
I don't even know where he plays now. I literally have no clue. I know it's in France somewhere. Like I literally couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
He plays for like Marseille or something like that. Yeah. He is. Yeah. Let it go, bro. Like if it's happened, it's happened. But I think collectively, as an organization, community, we gotta stop doing this, people. We're better than that.
So Tim's question, I think this was in reference to Eddie. So transfer market has him valued at 18 million euros. Do you think that's a fair valuation? I say yeah, because that's about what 16 and a half pounds, 16 and a half million pounds. So I think close to that, around that, give or take 1 or 2 million in either direction. I would say. And then
yeah, 18 million. I mean, it's steep considering what we know he is.
It depends on it depends on who's paying it, I think.
But it depends. Yeah, you're right. I mean, if Saudi come knocking and they want to pay us 25-30 million for him, I will fly the plane myself. I've never flown a plane ever in my life, but I will go down to. I'm trying to think. What's the one down the road? City Airport, right? I will break into the No, I'll break into Biggin Hill. I'll go down. I'll drive up to Biggin Hill. I'll go behind. I'll get in that cockpit, mate. I'll turn the engine on. Listen, man. I'll even cover the fuel costs.
Mm-hmm.
And just get it done, man.
So he said, if we sell Eddie and choose a youth striker to be third choice while recruiting a second choice to JP, who's your backup at the 9? So who's your youth backup? Who would be your youth third?
I don't think any of them's good enough yet. I think the ones that are on the level just below. So what's that? Ola Ademalia. You've got. I'll probably pronounce that wrong. I butchered that somehow. You've got. That's the one. I don't think he's ready yet. Luke Plange is not ready yet.
No.
I don't actually think Luke Plange will be ready.
Yeah, but he might not ever be.
There's somebody I'm forgetting here. Gordon. Gordon's gone. Ume maybe. Gordon's gone, isn't he? So he's gone. Umar might maybe, but the problem is Umar's not really a striker. He's more of a winger / fullback, isn't he? So
Victor Akinwale.
No. Premier League.
The young guy. Marsh,
I mean,
who's that?
Most of these guys, right? I mean, Marsh and Derry are too young. I feel like they need to kind of go up a level. Don't get me wrong. If you know the whole, if you're good enough, you're old enough sort of vibe will always still be a thing. But there is no Michael Owen, Andy Johnson, Clinton Morrison, Doogie Friedman, Wilfred Zaha, striker-like player that I look at in the youth setup and think, yeah, you should be third choice. And what we don't want to do is fall into the trap of thinking just because they do decent bits at such a young level that they can make that transition to Premier League, because a lot of them are going. How many of those kids have gone out on loan to League One, League Two clubs, or Belgium or France, and just haven't done anything?
Yeah,
I have to be a bit disrespectful and black and white with that one. I would love it to happen, but let's not get into the habit of just putting them on for the sake of putting them on.
Right, and I think we showed that we can move forward with 2 strikers, and then having, you know, the third fill in if we need it, like with a guy like an IU, if we need it direly, I guess you could say. So James had a question here saying, can you imagine creating enough depth that Schlupp and IU aren't even considered next season? Honestly, James, I think that might be one of the goals, if I'm being quite honest with you. And I think the reason is because, you know, guys are getting older. I mean, IU's pushing like 32, I think. So is Schlupp. You know, these guys are getting older. And to say, I'm not going to say it's necessarily about IU as much, but with Schlupp is on the verge of not being considered Premier League quality at all, if you're being quite honest. He's on the verge. So I think, and he's not consistent. He's not a consistent performer. I think you probably want a little bit more consistency out of maybe the role that he's played for us in recent history too. So I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if you see some moves that, like, if you go in and get a guy like a Daisuke Kamada, you're gonna see less Jeff Schlupp. I think that's just true, you know, because of where he plays, what he's going to be doing, and the level that he can do it at. Not to mention that he's 27 as compared to 32. So I definitely could see us making that move. What do you think?
Yeah, make it a slow transition out of the team. I'm now at a stage with the way that the squad is and the way the squad looks like it's heading to, that we could just eventually, gradually, because I felt like we kind of saw that with Glasner, you know. Obviously, there was a few games at the beginning that we had no choice. We had to play those guys because we were so injury riddled at the time.
Exactly.
But after a decent preseason with, I'd even say potentially Jez coming into the fold, God knows what's going on with Malcolm right now, plus any other potential players we have coming through the door. Gradually just phase him out of the team. Bring him on for the odd little cameo appearances. We all know IU's got a world-class goal in him somewhere, and we also know, ironically, Jeffrey Schlupp's got a world-class goal.
Too.
But let's not do that. Let's not get sucked into the idea of, oh my God, let's give him the new one-year contract, and then try and announce it with other players to try and sneak it in there. I know how your marketing works, Steve Parrish. I know you. You know, and announce his free contract. He's done that loads of times. You know what they do, right?
Really,
they'll just announce like contract extensions with about 2 or 3 of them at once. So we're quite like, oh yeah, he deserves it. Him, I'm not fussed about. Whereas if you announce that individually, you're gonna go mad. He's very, very clever. But I'm on to you, Steve. I'm on to you, Mr. Parrish. I know where you're on.
Absolutely.
But I would definitely just like to see it an easy transition. You know, I'd be there at the end of the season. You know, as we qualify for Europe. And, you know, the players walk around and get their guard of honor. I'll be the first to be standing there clapping IU and
I like how you slid that in
up into the...
That was smooth.
Was smooth. I learned from Steve Parrish, bro. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. You know what I mean? You've got to learn how to...
Right there.
You've got to learn how to slide it in there, mate. You know what I mean? Slip it into the inbox,
nice little slide.
But in all fairness, man, I'd clap them off, man. I mean, they've done really great things for the club. And, you know, I know on occasion I've not been the biggest fan of one or the other, but it's time, man. You know, you can't hold on to it forever, man. And you got to start thinking about value, wages, salary. You know, would we miss, hand on heart, right now, based on the way the team's playing and getting the targets through the door, would we miss Jordan Ayew and Jeffrey Schlupp? I'm not sure. Unless we had a massive injury crisis again.
I think the missing of both of them would be more emotional and nostalgic than true like missing them because we need them. You know what I'm saying? I think we will miss the thought of them more than them out on the pitch producing, if that makes sense.
I agree.
Yeah, but we knock out these last two questions really quick. Tim said, "Have either of you heard more about recruiting from Leicester in Iheanacho or Ndidi?" No. I remember. Well, actually, I never heard anything about Iheanacho. Let's be honest. I think the Iheanacho stuff was really created by our fan base more than anything else. I did see a report on Ndidi, but I haven't seen anything in a while.
The problem is, allegedly, Leicester have got some sort of financial issues pending. There was a bigger rumor that was saying that they, if they get promoted, even if they get promoted, they got to sell. It's not that bad. Mm-hmm. Essentially, what happens is that obviously financial fair play now is going to be more scrutinized, and obviously they've got to think about financial fair play from the previous years that they would have been under scrutiny. Yep. But then if you talk about, the money that you get going down, parachute payments, the money you get coming up. The problem with that Leicester have, and you mentioned it earlier on in the show, T, is that those players are kind of aging, so they're losing their value. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, remember, Leicester have just lost their manager. So whatever's going on, I mean, Leicester seems to always have found a way over the years anyway, but they've got problems, but I don't think they're at a fire sale. I would be more concerned if I was a Leeds fan right now or an Everton fan right now than being a Leicester fan.
That's a good point. I mean, I think, especially because with Leicester, I think the guys that they stand to lose are the ones that they knew they were going to lose all along, because they knew that those guys were leaving on the free. They know that Ndidi's leaving on the free. They know that Iheanacho's leaving on the free, comparatively to somebody like you said, like with the Leeds, who could potentially lose some really high quality players because of the fact that they didn't make the jump up. They could lose the Somervilles, they could lose the Nantos, they could lose the Archie Grays because they didn't do what they need to do to get to the next level. You know what I mean? So that makes perfect sense. So getting to the last question before we sign off here. JSPL 402 says, "Do we even have the money to buy all the players we're linked with?" Right now, I guess I'm just going to speak to the guys that seem like the ones that could be the closest to coming to fruition. Chadi Riyad, Daisuke Kamada, yes, because the thing is, we're not spending a ton of money. You know what I mean? The Riyad deal is like 12 million pounds. Cool, not bad. This deal reminds me of what we did for Chris Richards. That's about the same amount of money that we ended up getting Chris Richards for from Bayern, and it's worked out in our favor. And as far as we've seen, it's been a shrewd piece of business. And this could be the same with Riyad as far as his potential and his abilities. And then Kamada's a free move, and then a lot of the other moves that we've been rumored with are free moves. Wilfred Ndidi, who we just talked about a little bit, Ben Johnson, quite possibly, is a free move. So there's a lot of free transfer moves that we're talking about too, which is always going to be a cost-saving tactic. So I think the thing that Dougie's been good at is Dougie's been good at not only making good deals or great deals as far as the caliber of the player, but he's been able to make great deals for the price as well.
I 100% agree. If you wanted to do a proper 3-course meal for rich royalty and all the rest of it, Dougie Freeman's the kind of guy giving the money to take over to Aldi and Lidl and come back with some gourmet meal. Sorry, T, I don't know what the Aldi Lidl equivalent in America is, but it's very cheap. Let's just put it that way.
We got Aldi here.
So that concept. He's the kind of person where you give 20 quid, he'd go and find your gourmet meal, you come back making you some kind of, make you think it's Fortnum and Mason more, Claridge's or something. As far as the money side of things, T pretty much covered most of it. A lot of the players we're targeting are free or low budget. We, as a football club, finished 10th. That will make a large difference in terms of sponsorship money, prize money. Naturally, being in the Premier League, I think the minimal budget for most Premier League clubs is about 50 million anyway, as standard. We haven't sold any players yet, and they are, it is looking likely there are a couple of players that will leave, i.e. your Edouards, your potential Gays as well. There's obviously the investors. Granted, the text of politics, we don't know what's quite going on with that. But then Blitzer and Harris do pick out their pocket on very, 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 very rare occasions, but allegedly it does happen. Mm-hmm. Plus, Steve Harris will make sure that the money's there. I don't think there is a concern there. And remember, we will not sign every single player that we're linked with. It's just never going to happen. We'll probably get, I think so far, even this week, we'll be on Tuesday, and I've seen about 20 links. Out of those 20, we might get 2. So, we don't buy 30, 40 million pound players. And then when we do spend that kind of money, it is very rarely. I think historically, what was it? Benteke and Sacco are the only ones that kind of, well, now obviously Henderson. And Henderson, that's it. That's the only ones I can even think of, even at the 25 upwards bracket. We're not a football club that goes out and spends 30, 40, 50 million.
Yeah,
I think we are
certain links that just make no sense when you see them because of that price. Sometimes you see the price on certain players like, oh, Crystal Palace is interested in this person. It's like, no, we're not. Not if it's 35 million.
we don't do that. We just don't. Don't get me wrong. One day, or once that European money starts coming in, you never know. Or whoever the next potential investor comes in, there are a lot of factors in it, but I think finance and concerns in that side of things, we're never linked to a 30, 40 million. So that's why I think the only link that I saw this week that I thought was a bit unlikely was the Summerfield one, because there's no way we're going to pay 30, 35 million pounds for him. We're not going to do that.
Yeah. And I never understand.
Unless we wait until they get desperate.
Right, and people still want us to go get Ademola Lookman, and it's like, yo, this dude just won the Europa League by himself.
He's going to be 50 million pounds.
There's no way.
50 million pounds. Do you think Atlanta's stupid? Come on, bro. Do you think this football club is stupid? They're going to be like, you want us to give up our stop guy that banged the hat-trick in our Europa League final, who has now got a European Super Cup to compete for, Champions League football?
Not happening.
I would almost debate. I would even throw the Serie A in there. Chances of them winning it are obviously very unlikely, but. And how much they're going to charge 50, 60 million pounds. We can go down the road to Hull and give them 18 million pounds for Philogene.
Yep. If that.
So don't worry about all that, big man. Like, you ain't got to worry about that. Doogie's always cooking, bro. He's always cooking. Gordon Ramsay vibes. He's always cooking.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that'll about do it for this version of Palace News. I want to say thank you to all you all who tapped in with us today, all your great questions, all your comments in the chat and things. Don't forget, if you like what you saw here today, please subscribe, please like, continue to support the channel. We're on our way to 2,000 subscribers, and we really appreciate all you all do. We'll be back really soon with more content as news comes out. But as always, you can feel free to tap in with us on Twitter at TeaTimeSTL, at AJ Baps with a Z, at Back of the Nest. We're always, looking to interact with people, and we bring a lot of those conversation interactions here to the show as well. So,
yeah, we do.
Yeah, so we look forward to chatting with you all. And as always, guys, up the Palace.